welcome back. We continue with our news review right here on Power Breakfast on Citizen TV, and we now want to take a look at the headline that has to do with the Chief Justice, David Maraga. It's been highlighted on the front page of the Standard. I am not Jubilee's project, says Maraga. That story is on page 11 of the Standard. Let's just take a look at that headline. And on page 11 of the Standard it reads, I'm not Jubilee project, CJ now tells President. Uhuru told Nyamira residents that Jubilee had employed their son, referring to Maraga. It is also on page 2 of the Daily Nation. I am not a political appointee, says CJ. The Chief Justice has distanced himself from claims that his appointment was politically instigated. Also, inside the Daily Nation, there's a huge paid-up ad by the Judicial Service Commission, a very big one, because this is almost 2/3 of the page 26, signed by the Secretary Judicial Service Commission, Ann Amadi. And let me read just about 2 paragraphs. Today's meeting took particular note of the statement reportedly made by the head of state on March 21st, 2017 in Nyamira County, and thereafter repeated in several print media, including Sunday Nation. It was reported that the head of state had appealed to members of the Kisii community to vote for his Jubilee party, partly because he has appointed one of their own as Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. JSC has had the opportunity to review and evaluate the statement by the head of state and takes the view that the remarks during the said political meeting could and had in fact been misconstrued to imply a political hand in the appointment of the Chief Justice. This is unfortunate, erroneous, and substantially misleading to the public. Why is this an issue, Bwana Kiro?
Well, it's an issue because, one, the judiciary has its own process of getting one of their own to head that institution through the Judicial Service Commission. Number 2, any Kenyan given a position to serve this country should not be construed to be quid pro quo in terms of politics. If he came to Trans Nzoia, he should not tell us that he has appointed Eugene, he has appointed Chebukati, he has appointed Kuloba, and on the basis of that,
Eugene Omalo, at least he directly employed him.
No, in fact, the constitution is very clear. He has to look at the diversity of Kenya. So whether he has appointed Eugene Omalo or any other person, that is not really something that we should say we have to pay him politically, because we never elected Eugene to that position, and therefore it is his own right as an individual to get out to that position. So these are some of the issues that the president should do. Number 2, Justice Maraga was not appointed by the president, and therefore the president, while we do appreciate he may come from a certain part of this country, the president has no business whatsoever to mention that. It will be casting aspersion on the integrity of Judicial Service Commission and lowering the reputation of the Chief Justice, because he needs to dispense justice to all Kenyans regardless of their political affiliation. By saying he's a Jubilee appointee, misconstrues the fact that any ruling he's going to make today or tomorrow is going to be seen to be favoring the appointing authority.
Yes.
But while we know that he has his own credentials, he was interviewed, there were many other Kenyans who were interviewed, and he came tops.
Yes. Bwana Mutambo, of course, we do know that politicians do get excited. And when you're addressing masses, you tend to say some things that you shouldn't have said. Even if it was true, if at all, even if the president had something to do with the appointment of the CJ Maraga, is it something he should be mentioning at campaign rallies at this time, given that any election dispute, especially when it comes to the presidential election, will have to go to the Supreme Court?
You know, I really don't know whether I'm listening to a politician. I once believed my good friend became a minister because he was elected as a member of parliament, and by virtue of him being a politician. And so to speak, Chris Wamalo is also a politician. I am a politician. I am coming from a point of where we are taking our country. We need to understand that this Maraga, when he was appointed, there is a political process he underwent. And that political process he went under vetting of parliament. I will tell you the canvassing which goes on in parliament. Chris Wamalo will tell you for free. That is a political process whether you like it or not.
So
it is a political process.
So the president was right.
Problem, and that is a problem we're having in this country. When we have the so-called experts in the offices, and they think they are there because they're qualified to be there, and then they ignore in totality the politics part of it. I want to tell you there is no country which will thrive in any manner whatsoever if the political goodwill is not there, right? In any positions. And I'll even Christian say,
yes,
those people who hail from those who got job from their places, they also consult him. Please support us here and there. Yes. Please do this and this and that. Okay? So if he says that he can do or they can do without politicians, then where do they come to? Where politics are nurtured? That is parliament. So why do they bring it there?
DJ Maraga got the job because President Uhuru Kenyatta marshaled
the person. If the person, the party, which has the tyranny of numbers,
yes,
okay,
is what got him the job.
It is what got him the job. If Jubilee said we don't want him, I'll tell you, the Jubilee members of parliament could have voted him out.
There's some truth to what Bwana Mutambo says.
Mr. Mutambo, Honorable Mutambo is misleading the public, and I want to make it very clear. When you read Article 160 of the Constitution, it is very clear. It says, the head of state shall appoint the CJ and the deputy CJ in line with the recommendations of the Judicial Service Commission and subject to the approval of the National Assembly. Again, when you go to 172, when you read Article 172, the JSC has to advertise this position. It must be open, transparent, and competitive. This thing was done in the open. Justice Maraga qualified. He had what it takes for him to become the CJ. It is not at the mercy of the president, and it's very, very unfortunate the president went to Nyamira and made these remarks. Justice Maraga is like any other Kenyan. He applied for the job, he qualified, and when it comes to parliament, we are supposed to vet objectively without the interference of the executive. I was on the floor of the house. If I never seconded, maybe I was among the first people.
But let's be honest, if Parliament,
it was not given by the
Parliament. If Parliament or the side that has the tyranny of numbers within Parliament, within the National Assembly, had been marshalled to actually reject Bwana Maraga's nomination,
let me explain.
That would, he would not be the CJ right now?
You know, the way you are saying is like parliamentarians are like voting machines.
But we've seen
not really.
Members of the National Assembly voting.
Let me explain something, and give me some time. We have the independence of the judiciary, and we also have the independence of Parliament. Parliament is there to check executive. If the executive has done any recommendations or has done the appointment, and yet is contrary to what you are seeing, Parliament will reject. So we can't come here and say that the president influenced those people from the other side. It is because Justice Maraga qualified. He was not given the job by the president.
Yes.
We as parliamentarians, we vetted him. We debated objectively. Yes. He had the qualifications like any other Kenyan.
I want to remind you.
You've been a member of that National Assembly.
Let me finish. I'm not finished. Fred, I'm not finished.
I want to chat about
it's important. I wish you listen to this. We had a miscellaneous amendment, a bill that came on the floor of the House, where the Jubilee government wanted to sneak in a clause that JSC, when they do the interviews, they recommend 3 names to the executive so that the president can have some discretion to appoint one. But JSC went to court and it was nullified. That was the mischief that Jubilee was bringing so that the president can exercise discretion. But it was rejected. So in this case, Maraga qualified, he was not given the job by the president.
Of that National Assembly.
Yes.
You want to tell me the president, either in that system that was before or now, does not have enough influence to actually determine if someone can get a job or not, as Bwana Omalo puts it?
Well, let me just remind those who may not even be aware of my politics. I was there for 20 years, or 4 terms consecutively. But that is not really the most important issue. Well, political influence may be there, but once somebody gets to that position, it is important that we respect institutions. We cannot be saying in the Constitution about separation of powers. These are independent authority, and whatever influence that is used once somebody gets there, he has to comply. Because, as you said, Fred, in August, we don't know how the results will go, August 8th.
Yeah.
So if Justice Maraga will find himself with a petition,
substantial petition,
and is going to make a ruling in favor of, let's say, Jubilee, how are Kenyans going to read that he has done according to the wishes of his appointing authority? So let us separate this, because the danger, and this is where it's not about parliament, it's not about, it is about the country. We must separate, we must build institutions that are devoid of any personal cult.
Yes, but it is true that the president can indeed have influence.
He may have influence, but that influence ends after. It will be fait accompli immediately the person is appointed. He has no business whatsoever saying I assisted so and so, unless it was not with mischief. Even today, Fred, if you gave me 100,000 to print my posters, please, if you said after 2 months, okay, or after I win, that, oh, I assisted Kirwa, then you never wanted to assist me. You are doing it for personal gain.
Yes.
So the president should be advised that once you do, even if he influenced one member of parliament or so, that was his business as head of state.
It's not something he should be talking about.
He should not be talking about it.
Yes,
I think he said
and Mheshimiwa should actually be reading the Constitution.
What you have said.
Okay. No, but I don't want your credit, because I know you will take it away another 1 minute.
I just wanted to remind Chris Wamalwa.
Yes.
I want to take him back to a case of one Monica Juma. There is no permanent secretary, a PS, who is more qualified than Monica Juma in the entire cabinet, so to speak. And I'm not saying that because she comes from
Monica Juma is not in the cabinet.
Actually, let me tell you. Do you know why Monica Juma was? Monica Juma was appointed by the president and rejected by parliament. Do you want to give us the reason why she was rejected? You know it better. I don't want to talk about it. She comes from my place. Okay? And actually I have a lot of interest on her because she's my relative. But she was rejected by members of parliament. Why? I need you to tell me.
Let me explain to you so that
when you talk of just a minute. When you say we did it because Maraga qualified, are you telling me that Monica Juma was not qualified?
Okay, can I respond?
Yes.
You know, you cannot compare the issue of Monica Juma with Maraga. This is the executive, which is totally different from the judiciary. So you need to get that. Secondly, when you look at the Constitution, we have can I explain, please? Yes. Here we are talking about an independent commission, Judicial Service Commission. But when it comes to Monica Juma, there's nothing like that. These are appointees of the president, though they have to be vetted by parliament. But in this case, when you read the Constitution clearly, once such a motion passes, the president has a discretion to put a tribunal or not to put a tribunal, you know. So the president, it was within his mandate. So it has nothing to do with the way it comes to the CJ. CJ here, the issue is the Judicial Service Commission. They are the ones to do the interviews. They give the president only one name. The president is just coming as a rubber stamp. He has no influence whatsoever. If the JSC says it is Chris Wamalwa, it will be Chris Wamalwa. So the president has nothing. Him is just to rubber stamp what the Judicial Service Commission has recommended.
But Bonakirwa appears to differ with you because he says, yes, indeed, the president can have some influence.
No, you didn't listen to what maybe Honorable Kirwa said. The president has read at what Article 166. I wish I had my constitution here. It says, let me repeat, the head of state shall appoint the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice in line with the recommendations of the Judicial Service Commission and subject to the approval by the National Assembly. So what the JSC is the one to do the interviews. And when you go to Article 172, it says the JSC shall recruit in a transparent manner, in an open manner, in a competitive manner. So if it's any influence of the CJ, it is the Judicial Service Commission. If it says it's Fred Indibuli, the president has no influence.
Question, Bwana Wamalwa. Does the president have any influence over the National Assembly?
It doesn't have influence. We are here to check each other. Let me explain something. Can you give me time? There are three arms of government. Let me explain something. If you give me 2 minutes. We have three arms of government. We have the executive, we have the judiciary, we have the legislature. All these three arms of government, there's a way of checking each other.
But Malwa, you are the one who complained previously about the tyranny of numbers and some difficulty in passing some things in the National Assembly because of the tyranny of numbers.
Parliament is supposed to be independent.
Supposed to be. The ideal situation.
It's supposed to be independent.
But it is not.
Wamalo is the person, this guy eats the bread, the buttered side. So let's move on to other headlines.
Let's move on to other headlines. There's a statement there on page 26 of the Daily Nation from the Judicial Service Commission actually clarifying on that issue.
Yeah.
Now, something else that happened yesterday, top ODM leaders were grilled over violence that was witnessed in the party in the lead up to party primaries. That's on page 6 of the Daily Nation. In total, 16 members of the party, including aspirants, including at least 3 county governors, including the party deputy leader Ali Hassan Joho, was summoned by the party's disciplinary committee yesterday because of some violence that has been witnessed. That had to do with what happened in Migori last week. We've witnessed quite a number of cases, even in Busia at the weekend, where one person died as supporters of Sospita Ojamong and Paul Utoma clashed. We also do have other instances here in Nairobi to do with Roysambu, where Senator Ngoro and MP TJ Kajwanga also among those who were summoned yesterday. Now the question is, this is something that runs across all political parties as we head towards the nominations. Of course, political temperatures are rising. People tend to get into some chaos, and political parties are held accountable.
Yes.
But yes, well and good, ODM has summoned these people. But do we expect anything to happen? Is it just window dressing? Parties, I know, have a responsibility. But how easy is it to handle a deputy party leader and discipline him for anything, or a sitting governor?
Well, first of all, let me congratulate the ODM team for summoning those leaders, because violence should be condemned in all forms, whether it emanates from the opposition or those in government, or even private individuals, because our society is replete with a lot of hate, animosity and discontent. Any day anything happens, you realize people want to sort it out the violent way. This is something we must condemn, and we in the ANC, because we believe we are Amani, and Amani means peace, we must do everything peacefully. Number 2, I don't think there is any leader who is above the law. Because when it comes to violence, where we lose an individual, it is unfortunate that any leader has the courage to allow somebody's child to die because of his own position. Because if it was your child, and this is what I want to tell leaders all over the country, that let us not deal with this issue as if it is the end of the world. Winning or losing an election is just one of the things that happen in life. Let's not spend a lot of time subjecting people's children to violent exercises. You can win elections without killing even a fly, because at the end of the day, it's the people who are going to vote for you.
Do you expect any action to be taken against any of those members or senior members of a political party, if at all, let's say ANC was to summon you as a deputy party leader? Do you really expect, with the interests that are involved, because these are political parties, yes, it is not, we're not talking about the DCI or the courts in this instance. It is a political party dealing with its own members.
You know, even to be summoned is enough an embarrassment. Really, for you as a leader to be summoned, that somebody died because of you, is something that you should be ashamed of. And really, ANC is not Kirwa, and Kirwa is not ANC. ANC can exist without Kirwa.
But do you understand the challenges that political parties face?
It is a big challenge, but I think I'm happy that there has been that kind of move. And also the other day, Jubilee was able to dismiss some of the officials because of violence.
And that's the thing, because even for Jubilee and any other party, dismissing party officials appears very easy, because they're not politically of any significance, or much significance for that matter. But dismissing or barring a senior member of the party,
I think there should be a covenant between us and the people of Kenya that violence is not one of the leadership attributes. If that fundamental is achieved, then we are going to move forward. And let us sacrifice, even if it meant it's me who has caused the violence. In fact, I would resign. And it is actually it's supposed to be your own personal integrity. Why should somebody's child die? Unless you don't have a child.
Bwana John Mutambo, yes, as Bwana Kirwa rightly put it, yes, Jubilee dismissed some party officials, but we've seen some aspirants who are considered assets probably in the party, or who the party finds in terms of collateral damage, you cannot afford probably to lose them. Some of these aspirants, we've seen them even on camera causing chaos or leading chaos, yet the party did nothing against them. Do you think any party right now, whether Jubilee, ODM, Ford Kenya, ANC, is capable of disciplining aspirants, sitting governors, sitting members of parliament, sitting senators, by actually barring any of them from taking part in the coming elections?
I am afraid no. I have not seen that goodwill from all political parties, and I'm not being biased on any. I have not seen that goodwill, because violence are being orchestrated on daily basis. People are doing ugly things out there on a daily basis, and what we are seeing is just summoning. You see, and I'll tell you, this is summoning is just for media, or it's just public, it's just a PR. Okay, what they discuss inside when the cameras are not there, they are taking tea and laughing. Okay, and when they come outside, they wear ugly face to show that they have done something. In such a case where somebody dies, you don't even need to call this person to talk to. Right? Actually, you need to send the police there. Arrest those people who are involved, because this is a murder case. This is a murder. You don't need to negotiate. But you call somebody to negotiate, and the other party is having a burial ceremony. Surely, is that fair? Is that what you are telling me? There's goodwill? I do not see any good. Not only ODM, but also I'm talking about all other parties across the board. I have not seen, as a person, I love this country, and I would love to see a very peaceful election going on within our country. I don't expect people to fight simply because of mayor seats. I don't expect people to die because of it. But what we have seen, actually, I saw a governor speaking on a camera and saying there is nobody who has a monopoly of violence. If you come with violence, we'll encounter you with the same. And that person did not even record a statement, and the party is watching, and the police is also watching. So it's not also the parties, also the police, the agency which is involved.
But we're now discussing about the parties because there's a general failure by the parties across the board, including Ford Kenya.
It is across the board.
That you're not able to deal with your members.
To be fair.
Apart from window dressing, yes, you can fire 1-2 party officials, but any aspirant, when a Chris Wamalwa cannot be summoned and told, okay, fine, you cannot, we will not allow you to seek re-election on this party's ticket because you caused some violence.
First and foremost, of course, I want to congratulate ODM for summoning these top leaders. That courage, it's very, very encouraging.
Because it is courage.
Absolutely, yeah. And it demonstrates that you are very committed to the idea. Now, it's not an issue of saying that parties call these people for the sake of it. For instance, like Ford Kenya, we've done so much to our deputy party leader who was going in bed with Jubilee, Honorable Mwashetani, in line with the Political Parties Act. He was expelled from the party. So that tells you that we have taken some tangible decisions. You know, they've been suspended. He cannot run on the party. He was expelled.
But he had
but you had that courage. He appeared before the disciplinary committee. No, that's not the case. But you know, again, we've gone also to an extent of even expelling them from parliamentary committees. So you want to say that that is not something that we've done?
Is that
the political parties?
Is that related to violence?
The political when it comes to this, no, he talked about the issue of disciplining.
No, we are talking about violence.
So when it comes to violence as a party, you know, Ford Kenya is a very peaceful party, and we are warning anybody who is going to involve himself in matters of violence. We have different mechanisms of dealing with that. For instance, one, you can have a fine. There's an amount of money you can pay. And you can also be suspended and barred from running. And so long as there's that evidence. You know, you need to understand, Fred, that you must be given an opportunity to defend yourself. And there must be evidence beyond any reasonable doubt that here it is evidence that you are involved. You can't just come up with some allegations and punish somebody, and yet there's no evidence proven beyond any reasonable doubt. You need to know that.
You've been in politics for quite a number of years.
Yes.
Do you remember any aspirant or any party that actually punished an aspirant by barring them from running because of such indiscipline like violence? In your memory, is there any such that you can remember?
Well, I was in politics many years ago. I might have forgotten, but the most important thing is to separate the party and the government institution. If Mheshimiwa Mutambo here was to be president, I fear he can actually reign anarchy in Kenya. That as a political party, you send the police. You have no capacity to send police to arrest somebody. The police is a separate institution, independent, and they are already investigating what happened in Busia. And we as Amani, we strongly believe, and our candidates, we've been talking to them, that you may win or you may not win at the nomination stage, but the party will always be there for you. My worry is this violence has become something that has happened recently. In fact, and this is something that even if you was to disagree with me in all aspects, as a student of leadership, I read a lot of palpable violence latent in many of our members of our society. This is something we should address. This issue of violence is something that can build up, and as we go towards election, it may be even more dangerous.
But you do agree that parties have been totally unable?
They have been unable, but the level of violence has not been like this. Yeah, we used to have just violence in some few places in Kenya. We knew about some part of central Kenya and some part of South Nyanza, or some parts of Nyanza. But the rest of the country, they have been carrying their elections peacefully. It is worrying me that almost every political meeting is going to be punctuated by violence.
Yes.
This is something we should not even be debating about it now. We should be thinking of how do we have a peaceful general election.
Yes. So at least on this one you agree that political parties have generally failed to tackle the violence.
They have failed,
yes,
but we need to summon the public to reject any leader who perpetuates violence.
But it probably should start at the party level, that no one should be allowed to take part in the party nominations if at all you've been part of violence.
That's what I'm telling you.
If evidence is there, there's no problem.
You know, I don't understand when Ikiro says that he can separate the police and the parties.
Yeah.
You cannot.
No party has capacity to summon the police unless you are on party.
When you're doing your nomination, or when you're having your meeting, and there are some issues, you call the same police. Why don't you call your party?
You are informing them, but you are not directing the police. You know, the issue is,
the fact is,
possibly it's a question of semantics.
You report.
Yeah, reporting. No, the police, you don't need to report. Yeah.
Once evidence,
you don't report it to party officials. You report it to police.
Okay. Well, time for another breather. Let's take a break. When we return, we discuss what is happening within NASA. Yesterday there were demonstrations in Bungoma County where people were saying no Musalia, no NASA. We'll be discussing that and a lot more after the break.